Okay, here's our next installment of the Twits, chapters 13, 14, and 15. So far we've learned ooh, how just ugly and oogly the Twits are, Mr. Twit and Mrs. Twit. And then we also learned that they love playing tricks on each other, and it's really gotten out of hand, really. All right, this chapter is called Mr. Twit Gets a Horrible Shock. There he is. Oh, I can't imagine what's going to happen to him. Mr. Twit, who thought he had seen his ugly wife for the last time, was sitting in the garden celebrating with a mug of beer. Silently, Mrs. Twit came floating down. When she was about the height of the house above Mr. Twit, she suddenly called out at the top of her voice, "Here I come, you grizzly old grunion, you rotten old turnip, you filthy old frumpet." Mr. Twit jumped as though he'd been stung by a giant wasp. "Ow!" He dropped his beer. He looked up. He gaped. He gasped. "Oh!" He gurgled. "Oh!" A few choking sounds came out of his mouth. "Oh," he said. "Arrgh, ow." "I'll get you for this," shouted Mrs. Twit. She was floating down right on top of him. She was purple with rage and slashing the air with her long walking stick, which she had somehow managed to hang on to all the time. "I'll swish you to a swazzle," she shouted. "I'll swash you to a swizzle. I'll gnash you to a nozzle. I'll nosh you to a nazzle." And before Mr. Twit had time to run away, this bundle of balloons and petticoats and fiery fury landed right on top of him, lashing out with the stick and cracking him all over his body. "Oh, oh, 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 take that, take that." The next chapter, the house. The house, the tree, and the monkey cage. That's what it's called. So I'll just show you the pictures. I'm going to zoom across so you can see everything. But that's enough of that. We can't go on forever watching these two disgusting people doing disgusting things to each other. We must get ahead with the story. Here's a picture of Mr. and Mrs. Twit's house and garden. Some house. It looks like a prison, and not a window anywhere. Who wants windows? Mr. Twits had said when they were building it. Who wants every Tom, Dick, and Harry peeping in to see what you're doing? It didn't occur to Mr. Twit that windows were meant mainly for looking out of, not for looking into. And what do you think of that ghastly garden? Ugh. Mrs. Twit was the gardener. She was very good at growing thistles and stinging nettles. "I always grow plenty of spiky thistles and plenty of stinging nettles," she used to say. "They keep out nasty, nosy children." Near the house, you can see Mr. Twit's work shed. To one side, there is the big dead tree. It never has any leaves on it because it's dead. And not far from the tree, you can see the monkey cage. There are 4 monkeys in it. They belong to Mr. Twit. You will hear about them later. Let me show you the tree and the monkey cage again. And you also see some of the thistles. Next chapter, Hug Tight, Sticky Glue. That's the title of it. Once a week on Wednesdays, the Twits had bird pie for supper. Mr. Twit caught the birds and Mrs. Twit cooked them. Mr. Twit was good at catching birds. On the day before Bird Pie Day, he would put the ladder up against the big dead tree and climb into the branches with a bucket of glue and a paintbrush. The glue he used was something called Hug Tight, and it was stickier than any other glue in the world. He would paint it along the tops of all the branches and then go away. As the sun went down, birds would fly in from all around to roost for the night in the big dead tree. They didn't know, poor things, that the branches were all smeared with horrible Hug Tight. The moment they landed on a branch, their feet stuck, and that was that. The next morning, which was bird pie day. Mr. Twit would climb up the ladder again and grab all the wretched birds that were stuck to the tree. It didn't matter what kind they were. Song thrushes, blackbirds, sparrows, crows, little jenny wrens, robins, anything. They all went into the pot for Wednesday's bird pie supper. I hope you're prepared for this because this picture is not nice. So there are the birds stuck to the tree. And there's the bird pie. Oh my gosh. And their little feet are sticking out. I can't take it. Oh. End of chapter. All right, that's it for today. We'll come back to reading the Twits tomorrow by Roald Dahl. So it's been fun. It's been exciting. We're going to get through this book a lickety split, and then we'll be off to our next book. All right, thanks.